Welcome to Amy Storytime and have a nice time with our new stories.
The story of me and my family splitting apart. My name is Michael, and this is the story of how I messed up my entire family and lost all contact with my dad. But that's getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how our story begins. I was about 15 years old when my mom, Maggie, died. It was sudden and heartbreaking when she lost her life due to an illness we knew nothing about till it was far too late to save her. I still remember the funeral, how I watched my dad, Andrew, crying and sobbing over her open casket, promising her he would do his best for me and my baby sister Melody. It was heartbreaking. I never even cried that day. No, I waited till I was home, locked up in my room to cry, as I knew if I cried it would make everything worse for my dad. I had already promised my mom I would be strong for him and help him out as much as I could, but it was hard. I lost my mom, the woman who had always been there for me in my life, the one who taught me to make brownies for my dad's birthday and was there when I learned to ride a bike. It was misery. Flash forward about 5 years, and now I'm in university as an engineering major, doing my mom proud. She always had wanted me to do something great and important with my life, and I was always good with math, so this was the ideal position for me. One evening I was chilling out at home, a lot cheaper than living in dorms, when Dad came home with the most beautiful woman. She had bright blue eyes that made the world stop. They looked like winter ice with the light shining off of them. Silky red hair that fell in waves across her shoulders, lips that were rosy red and full, and a body that screamed, "Look at me." I practically dropped the plate I was holding from the washing up when she came through the door, wondering if my dad had arrived home and brought me an angel. Oh God, how I wished that were true. But instead he introduced her as Madeline Cross, a girl he had been seeing for the past few months. I had no issue with Dad seeing other women. After all, it had been years since Mom passed, and I know she wouldn't want him to be alone forever. She would want him to move on eventually and find new love. That much I understood. But did he have to pick someone who was my ideal type? I stammered something stupid about, "Hi, nice to meet you." When she spoke, I swear angels were singing in the background, and her form was lit up by a halo. For the first time in my life, I wished my dad would mess this up and break up with her, anything for a chance with the woman of my dreams. However, he did not mess anything up. No, in fact, over the next 2 years, he was the most wonderful boyfriend and partner to her. It was like Madeline was over every single day and every single night. The moments where I would catch her on her own were the worst, as I always felt shy and nervous, as I wanted to communicate how I felt, but I knew it was wrong. Before I knew it, I was 26 years old and she was 32, and I had fallen hopelessly in love with her, despite the fact that by now she was my stepmom, and she had moved in with my dad. I had moved out when I was in my early 20s and tried to keep my distance, but they were still my family, and what was I meant to do? Then things began to fall apart a little. Dad got a new job and was almost always working, despite his age, and that meant Maddie was left alone a lot. So she sought me out. Somebody close to her age who she could trust, who she trusted deeply. With long nights of conversation and drinking, before we both knew it, we were in bed together, and I was holding her close. We made the biggest mistake when we slept together that night. I swear it was just sleeping. I was still conscious enough not to do anything stupid. I love her, but that love will never be bigger than my love for this family as a whole. It would have been easier if we hadn't fallen asleep. And gods, it would have been easier if my dad did not walk in. I have never seen him so mad, red-faced and screaming at me to get the hell out of his house. I fled in just my boxers and jeans as I bolted for my car. I tried to explain, but he didn't listen to me. He just wanted me to get out of his sight. But everything just kept falling further and further apart. After that night, he kicked out Maddie, wanting a divorce. She was heartbroken, as I knew she loved him, but he didn't trust her. Then there was Melody. She cut off all contact with both me and Madeline, and I lost the sister I loved so dearly. It was the most horrible thing ever. Eventually, Madeline left, took everything she owned and made for the hills, and I never saw her again. So that is the story of how I am where I am now. No family besides myself, the one who split up a perfect little family, living from a normal life with no interest. I really, really want my family back together again, but I know that is impossible. Take care, and goodbye.
快手，看见每一种生活。